The weekend box office has been catching fire. Get it? Catching fire. Anyway, the new Hunger Games movie set records this weekend, taking in over $161 million on its opening weekend, easily becoming the biggest November opening in history. The total also makes it the fourth biggest opening weekend in history, only behind The Avengers, Iron Man 3, and the final Harry Potter film. Catching Fire also became the largest opening weekend in history for a non-3D film, just barely beating out the most recent Batman film, The Dark Knight Rises. John, are you surprised by these numbers?
Frankly, yes. Am I surprised that they're big? No, but I believe I set the over-under number at 135 million for it, and I believe wrong. I believe I took the under. So I was off by quite a bit, as it turns out. But 161 million. Look, all these numbers are impressive. You know, biggest November opening, beating out the former title holder, which was Twilight. The fourth largest opening in history, only behind like mega huge films. Biggest 2D opening in history, that's great. But one of the numbers that nobody's talking about that I believe Lionsgate has to be absolutely thrilled with is this number, 59%. 59% of the total going audience that went to go see Hunger Games Catching Fire was female. And I think a lot of people thought that number would be higher. That means a little over 4 out of every 10 people who went to the theaters to watch Catching Fire was male. They have a much more diversified demographic now than they did for the first Hunger Games film. The appeal for this series is getting wider, and that bodes extremely well for the folks at Lionsgate and for the future of the Hunger Games franchise. They've got to be thrilled with this, and it's well deserved. I mean, we did our spoiler-filled review this past weekend for Hunger Games Catching Fire. We all loved it. It's just an amazing film, well-deserved, great numbers, but yeah, I gotta admit, I'm a little surprised by how high they were. Dennis?
I'm not as surprised as you. I was expecting some big numbers, maybe not as big as these. I remember I mentioned on a previous episode, I talked about like how this franchise is different than something like Twilight, which was big as well, that the demographic for the male audience was much larger because more guys were willing to see it. A couple of our friends, you know, Chuck and Johnny, who you normally wouldn't think would go see it, they were interested in seeing it, and they couldn't see it because it was sold out. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm a little surprised, but not a lot.
Schnepp?
I'm not surprised. It was such a good film. I mean, it was already going to be a big hit, but I think word of mouth also just created a bigger buzz. Like, as people were like, hey, it's better than the first one. I think a lot of people also having seen Hunger Games just on cable and on Netflix, I mean, it created a bigger buzz for people who didn't see it the first time. They were like, oh, I'm going to see the second one. So, I mean, that it got that big, I'm a little surprised at, but I'm happy to hear it. So
yeah, I didn't see 161 million coming. That's really awesome.
If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to AMC Movie News on YouTube. It's free and a great way to stay updated with all the latest movie news, and check out our daily show, AMC Movie Talk. Also, don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter to stay in the loop for our special prizes, giveaways, and contests.